I mean, I'd say we were pretty excited for the weekend going into it, and we knew that the UFC card wasn't the most stacked, but we figured there'd be some good fights, and there were, and we'll talk about the ones that were pretty good. But I mean, I don't know. I think overall that weekend was a bit of a disappointment. Just like a lot of things that were hyped up that just ended up not going too well. Like some of the fights in the UFC had some problems with just illegal strikes and all that. And then obviously some of the fights just weren't too entertaining in general, but some of them were pretty good, and obviously we'll talk about like a few. Bellator obviously at the top of their card had some rough things happen. I mean, you had in the co-main event a no contest in a title fight, which is always hard to see, and then you got the main event, and a lot of people, including myself, honestly thought that was a robbery. And I feel like that's I'll save it for when we get into it. Well, I'll save it. And we will also talk about the Errol Spence versus Yordenis-Ugas, which honestly ended up probably being the best part of that weekend, just because it was the most entertaining, and like I said, going into it was pretty high stakes. But we will start with the UFC and just get that one going. We could start just from the main event. I mean, Belal Muhammad, man, what else can you say? I mean, I was really thinking about this morning as I was rewatching the fight. Like, he went into this fight already, like, knowing that Vicente Luque could stop him with his power. So that's like, even though the fight was a long time ago, that feeling never really goes away from, like, your subconscious. So going in, he already had to overcome that. And then I was even thinking this as I was watching it. When the clock went in 1 minute and 20 seconds, he had already done better than he did in the first fight. So I'm like, in my head, that's when he probably overcame that barrier, or when he just got hit and realized he can take the shot. Because, man, like that first fight, it's crazy how it happened. Like the knockout happened right before really the fight was even going to start. Like it really was just right at the beginning. And we knew that this fight wouldn't really be like that, and it definitely wasn't. Belal Muhammad, just outstanding footwork. We kind of talked about it a little bit on the Sportsbook, but honestly, it looked even better in this fight. And then, obviously, he did a great job at mixing it up between his striking and his wrestling. He was doing a good job at bouncing in and out of range with combinations or just shooting in for a takedown. Luque just looked like he didn't really know it was coming, and he was just trying to walk him down and hopefully hit him with some sort of counter. But it just wasn't going too well for him the whole
It's
night.
almost as if, like, after Vicente Luque landed that first shot, and obviously compared to the last fight, didn't knock down Belal. It was like, when, got to switch it up, and he just stopped applying pressure as much, and like you said, like, I think it was more like once Belal took that first shot, like, and realized, like, okay, you can take that. It completely, like, swayed into Belal's, playground in terms of, like, grappling and, the clinch. There was a lot of clinch sequences against the cage, it felt like. But, people are going to say what they're going to say about Belal, most boring fighter on the roster.
We got a comment saying that when I shut him down. But no Belal slander will be tolerated on the Hurt Handbook. But pretty much, I was just really impressed, man. Like, that was such a good performance. I think, honestly, he's one of the most, like, improved fighters that I think I've seen, like, fight to fight. Like, he just seems to look better and better every time, and, like, I wouldn't say we were sleeping on him. I don't know about you, but like I said that people were counting him out. Even though I was picking Luque, people weren't respecting Belal's skills. And like obviously I did pick Luque, but man, like just the fact that he just could silence all that noise, get rid of the mindset from the first fight after obviously getting stopped early, just all that, to have that type of performance, to prove that he's, like, in that elite echelon of welterweights, just, what else can you say? Like, 10-1-1 since that first fight. And then this is not counting the Leon Edwards no contest, his 7 straight wins. That's incredible. Like, so quietly, too. It's crazy how he's just moved up the division like this. Like, we've been talking about him, obviously, for a while, because, full disclosure, I think when we really like started paying attention to Belal Muhammad is when we really noticed that all the time his tweets would be on the screen during the fight nights. And like
he was a meme. He was a meme to us.
We knew he was like a pretty good fighter, obviously at the time. Like he wasn't ranked or anything at that point, but it was just I don't know what it was just always more noticeable. Like you just see Bully B170, and it'd just be like something like kind of like quirky, like funny, and that's why you notice it because it would be just something that would catch your eye. And then obviously we even mentioned it in the Reddit video, and Paul Felder just eviscerated my man on Twitter. But
forgot about that for a second.
Yeah, I mean Belal, he gets on screen. You gotta take some criticism if you're getting that platform. And
maybe
Paul Felder
I
might
think
be the guy to give it.
He might have just imagined like obviously Vicente Luque like he's not only did he beat him but he knocked him out as well. But there's probably some Paul Felder hate deep down in Belal's heart during that fight.
He was angry.
And he just let it all out.
Paul had said that, and he was just like, "I'll show him. I'm top 5 welterweight," and now he is, just like that. And he called out instead of Usman. He said, "I'm not going to waste my time calling out the champ this time. I'm going to call out Colby Covington." He called him the Karen of MMA. And honestly, the more I've thought about that Covington Masvidal situation, I still feel the same way, but. Colby shouldn't be pressing charges, man. Like, all these guys that are, talking crap to him about that, I think it's pretty deserved. Like, they keep, Gilbert Burns was saying to Hamzat, he's like, no fights with Hamzat are from people who call the cops. And I was like, that's pretty good. I was like, he should, he's right. I think, I don't know, I think that kind of, works. Because, I mean, you're in the fight game, and like I said, I don't think what Masvidal did was right, but still, it's just... You talk that way, things might happen sometimes, and obviously Masvidal made a mistake, but we're not going to get too far into that. We already have. But yeah, I think Belal versus Colby's an interesting fight. I don't think it's... I mean, could happen if they...
I don't. Honestly, I'm going to be honest. I don't want to see that. It's either going to go two ways. There's a few ways, and they're honestly not all that great. I mean, one, Colby just steamrolls him for five straight rounds.
I think that wrestling and just Colby's all around game might be too much. It's so weird though, because I feel.
I think Belal can hang in there till we're he won't get finished, and he'll hold his own a little bit. He'll screw. He won't get. He'll probably.
He won't get ragdolled like Colby's last opponent, but.
I could imagine Colby just holding him down for a large majority of the fight, and
I mean I'd want to say it would be more on the feet just because I think both their takedown defenses are rock solid. Belal honestly like I said coming in he had 91% and Colby can I see Colby Covington's? I wonder how easy that is to find. I'm actually curious to see what his takedown defense percentage is because I would imagine it's 72%. But honestly, that RDA fight was probably one of the ones that narrowed that one down because he did get taken down a bit in that fight. I don't know. The thing is with me, I feel like I've slept on Belal his past 2 or 3 fights. Actually, past 2 fights because I figured he'd probably do what he did to Diego Lima. But then he what was it? Lima, then Damian Maia. He fought in between there, so it was Maia. Then Thompson, and then now Vicente Luque. And each of those fights, I wasn't sure how he'd do, and I was he might hold his own, but I don't know. I want to pick Colby just because I think Colby's all around better than him. But then, I said to myself, I've been saying that for his past 3 fights, and this guy keeps proving me wrong. So I don't know. I can pick Colby, but I can't say I'm certain anymore. I maybe would have been a year ago. It's just I think Belal at this point, and especially in this fight, he's just proven that he belongs.
I think notice how I'd even say I think Colby finishes him. I think it's more Colby just dominates for 5 rounds.
Yeah.
I think what you just the Colby that you
I feel
brought
it'd
up.
be a fun fight on the feet. Personally, like I said, I don't know if it would go. I think Colby would get him. The Colby of sometimes, but
Colby of old would definitely TKO him.
Who? Colby of old.
You just brought up, if this was Colby, a year ago.
Well, no, I don't even mean it like that. I mean it in the sense that, because a year ago, Belal had only fought... No, he hadn't even fought Damian Maia yet. He had fought Diego Lima and, like, Lyman Good were his last couple wins before that. So I'm saying, like, with that resume and, like, how he looked in those fights, I wouldn't have said back then that I think he would beat Colby. But now, like, he's beaten these 3 opponents. You know, Damian Maia is elite at jiu-jitsu. Stephen Thompson, elite striker. Vicente Luque is just a top 5 in the division. Like, that's... I mean, he's just looked incredible, like, in this streak that he's had. I'm just, like, I'm really impressed. I don't know. I have a hard time fully committing to Colby Covington.
The important thing with Belal is he doesn't really, like, especially this fight, like, he didn't leave, he left no stone. Like, did it go to the scorecards? Like, yes, that's typically what you're gonna get with a Belal Muhammad fight, and especially if he wins. But
beat him up, though. Like,
exactly. You're still getting that unanimous decision victory at the end of the day next to your name. Like, that's still, like, especially in this, you know, what some would deem like a title eliminator. Like,
yeah, people were
pretty
saying
huge
that
fight.
in.
And I mean,
and have your best, in my opinion, what was probably his best performance. You know, 5-round fight like that over a top guy like Luque. Like I said, I'd already beaten him, so it's just incredible. Like, Belal Muhammad has had some rise through that division. I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think that it's tough though because I think they're still going to go with Colby versus Hamzat, and then where does that leave him? Because I think. Leon is probably going to fight for the title. And then what? Who else is there? It's just Gilbert and Hamzat.
Honestly, I think that's who Belal should have called out is Gilbert. I think it just makes sense. Like he just beat his friend, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. He was in the building too. I think they said.
There you go. It was right there for the taking.
Right. Oh yeah, he should have done that. I don't know if they're like cool or anything like that, but man, that would be a good fight though too.
I don't know. Yeah.
Because Bilal's got that, like, relentless wrestling.
It could really go, like, whichever. I honestly think Gilbert would be the one to more, you know, dictate and control the pace, you know, of where the fight goes.
Gilbert's just got, like, relentless pressure. Like, we really saw that.
Exactly. I think Gilbert just gives you a little bit of everything. Like, so...
That's an interesting
As far as who would win that fight, I mean, I think it's way closer than Colby and Belal. That I'll tell you that, but...
Interesting, actually. I
think it goes to the ground, it goes to Belal, and you can keep on the feet. Then
if you're talking about Gilbert Burns,
yeah.
You think it goes to Belal if he's on the ground? You think? I don't know.
It's dangerous, but
like, I've obviously spoken
I think
about
Belal can just sprawl enough, and
yeah, I don't think he's taking that fight to the ground. I know that, but that's what. It's weird because styles in MMA definitely make fights, so. In the sense, like, if he's fighting Gilbert, his takedowns aren't going to be, like, as much of a threat because Gilbert would probably welcome it in that case. Or Gilbert honestly doesn't have bad takedown defense. Honestly, we saw it against Hamzat, too. But I just think that, like...
I think Belal's good enough
to... complemented by his takedown threat.
Exactly. I think Belal's good enough just picking his spots and choosing his spots and, you know, when he's going to...
Gilbert hits a lot harder, too. That's the other thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
if they have different, it's the
so power weird. Is not particularly close.
He's broken into like a really like elite echelon of fighters, and like I feel like he hasn't. I feel bad saying that because he just fought Luque, but like even Luque, I never figured that Luque would get past certain guys. Like I didn't think Luque would beat Colby. I think Leon already has beaten Luque, and then. Hamzat versus Luque, I don't think that goes well for Luque, even especially now after the Burns fight, seeing that. But, and I feel bad because like I'm not even saying that like I'm not trying to discredit the win at all, obviously, because I think that Belal Muhammad just has had like a whole incredible rise in this division, especially in the past. This has all been in like the past year.
It is really impressive. It is really impressive. I don't know how I've been coming off like towards Belal this episode, but you know.
It's just he's in a killer's row of like
he seriously is doing like, and I think that's why I think like fans are so like accustomed to how just like savage like 170 is, and like Belal just is like, you know, kind of an outcast in that sense. So no one really wants to give him that like respect, like, but he's still like beating like at the end, like he's still beating these names and whatnot. Like you have
exactly like
at some point, like
it's tough because like it's still the same way. Like I feel like I just don't know. Like Vicente Luque doesn't really fight like those top couple welterweights like Usman, Colby. It's just tough. Like that's why I think Gilbert was the most interesting matchup that you had pointed out, because Gilbert kind of fights similarly to Vicente Luque, but I think he's just a bit better. So I think that would definitely be a more interesting fight. Man, it's tough though. I wonder who they're gonna book him against. That's just what it is. Imagine they gave him Hamzat. Just like,
that'd be brutal.
But yeah, I don't know. I think he's just gonna have to let the division settle itself out, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But I mean, just in terms of other fights on the card, I only had like a couple more that I really just wanted to talk about. One of them was Pat Savatini versus Tj Laramie. Pat Savatini, he looked really good. Like at first, he started off a little slow. The scrambles were pretty close, but once he got going, it was pretty much a wrap. He was taking him down, getting in dominant positions, holding it for the rest of the round. He took his back a bunch of times. I think it was 30-26 on either two of the scorecards or all of them. So that was just a great performance.
He did, things did start off a little slow. Like Laramie had the clinch, and then the takedown eventually, and then that was pretty much it. Sabatini, I was really impressed by like just the agility and just I think he's swift, he's fast. I think for featherweight that's
and his
super
grappling
important.
Is dominant. Like he did that again. Like because we were saying coming in, Tj Laramie is a really good grappler himself, and he made TJ look like an amateur there on the ground in those last couple rounds. So, I think that he's already like becoming a contender as like we're watching. He's 31. That's what I was looking up just now. He's 31. So he's not like the youngest contender in the world. So I think you could start pushing him. You know what I mean? Because if you're doing that to a guy, like I think you could definitely hang.
I think he definitely can.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a couple fights away from being like an actual like threat in this division. I think if you maybe put him against one of these top 20, 25 guys, and then he gets through that, you might as well give him another ranked opponent. Like, man, I was impressed though. His grappling was really incredible in this fight. Like it lived up to the hype in that sense. Like there was a lot of grappling, and it wasn't one of those cases where it's like two grapplers fighting. It's just a sloppy fist fight on the feet, which is the case occasionally. Remember when Ben Askren fought Damian Maia, and it was like most of the first round that Ben Askren was being careful with the takedowns, and they were just on the feet having just like a horrible striking fight. Ben Askren threw a couple of spinning back fists that I don't know if he thought they were gonna land or if he was just throwing them to maybe like how in the NFL sometimes like the teams have like decoy plays for tape. You think that could have been like something like that. Now that Ben Askren has a spinning back fist, like he didn't come anywhere near landing that, but we might have to prepare for it because clearly that's something he thinks is working. All right. Man, I just came off like I hate Ben Askren. I'm a big Ben Askren
I never
fan.
thought of it like that, but
I don't think that was the case.
It's probably just more just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, I mean Damian Maia, he's not gonna counter him that quickly, so I mean I think Ben's striking definitely took some leaps in that fight. He had some nice uppercuts, but I mean Jesus. I mean, it actually kind of comes back to Pat Savatini because they're both dominant grapplers. But in that bantamweight division, I think that Savatini can really make some noise just because, like, I'd say that's a pretty, like, diverse division in the sense that, like, there's not a whole ton of wrestlers, there's not a whole ton of strikers. It's, like, all kind of, like, mixed together. So there's matchups that you can actually give him that would be, like, really exciting throughout, which is why I always say that bantamweight's the most stacked. Because I like welterweight, but it's like we were talking about for Belal, it's very top heavy.
I was about to say the same thing.
Like it's fun. Like all those guys in the division are characters. They make their fight weeks entertaining, but it's really hard to break into that upper echelon. That's why we're talking about such like raw guys like Hamzat being contenders for Usman because Usman's already gone through most of them. And then they're just fighting each other, and it looks like Colby is just like far and above the number 2 guy. And Hamzat, I mean, he beat Gilbert, but technically it's still an unknown until he fights a 5-rounder maybe. because we got to see how he does in that. But I have faith in him in that fight, honestly, for 5 rounds. I don't know. But I think bantamweight is a lot more versatile. I guess that would be the word.
Deep.
It is, well, that too, honestly, yeah. I think that anybody in that top 10 could, like, be champ on any given night. Like, look at the last title fight, how close that was. Literally a split decision. And then you have
What
the
is
interim
the top...
title fight was too, wasn't it? I don't remember if that was... might have been unanimous, but it was a close fight. And
what does the top 10 of bantamweight even look like? I know the top 5 off the top of my head, but I couldn't tell you the top, what the bottom...
Let me pull it up here.
Look like
Athlete rankings. So champ is Aljamain Sterling, which is clearly still bothering a lot of people from what I see on Instagram.
Font, Sandhagen,
Jan, Dillashaw, Aldo, Sandhagen, Font, Marab, Dominic Cruz, Marlon Vera, Pedro Munoz,
Song Yadong, number 9,
Frankie Edgar, Ricky Simone, Sean O'Malley. Marlon Moraes just retired, so I'm assuming we should talk about that actually. Marlon Moraes just retired. That is actually a pretty big deal. We've talked about that on the pod before after his last fight against Song Yadong that might be time, but I mean, obviously we didn't have this planned. I literally just thought of it when I saw his name, but I think we could talk about his career a tiny bit just because, I mean, he fought Henry Cejudo for the title, obviously, but before that, he went on, like, such an incredible run, just knocking dudes, like, putting them to sleep in the bantamweight division, like, with head kicks. Like, he was so explosive. It's tough.
I had another dude that's just fought killers. Like,
Yeah.
even
in
this later part of his career.
Yeah, like, even his last few losses, like, yeah, like, he's losing, like, in, like, tough fashion, but he's losing to all killers. Like, people are saying great things about Song Yadong. And then before that, let's see what we got here. He lost to Marab, Rob Font, and Corey Sandhagen before that, who are all top guys in the division. But, like, before the Cejudo fight, he had... his debut was against Rafael Sunsao, and he lost by split decision. Coming in, and I think he was pretty hyped up at that point. And then, split decision win over John Dodson, but then it really starts going. KO with a knee over Aljamain Sterling, the current champion. I don't know if you've ever seen that knockout, Tiz, but that one is quite brutal. Jimmy Rivera with a head kick, that one was pretty bad. And, yeah, 33 seconds, too, so he was doing it quick. And then Rafael Sunsao, he had a rematch, and he guillotined him in 3 minutes. So that's 3 first-round finishes right before he fought Cejudo, and people forget because of the way the fight ended, but those first couple rounds, he was tearing Cejudo's legs apart, man. And that, he kind of gassed out, and that's what ended up making him lose that fight. And obviously, as his career kind of went on, that's kind of what ended up being his Achilles heel sometimes. And then his chin kind of seemed to fade a little bit. Man, that sucks. 4 straight TKO losses after that Aldo win.
Man.
And that's a bantamweight, too.
Salute. Seriously.
Yeah, I think he's had a legendary career. I mean, even before that, I didn't even know that. He fought a World Series of Fighting, which is the PFL now, and he was the champ there. So, yeah, man, that's incredible. Let's see, did he fight? He fought, I've heard of Shayman Moraes. Let's see, anybody else? Tyson Nam. God, he was fighting at, like, the first couple World Series of Fightings, which is, like I said, that's the PFL today, which is still, like, a big promotion. That's kind of crazy. I'm, like, going off on tangents right now, but, like, I'm honestly, like, thinking about, like, different things as I'm going through this. I saw this on Helwani. Dude, they were talking about a possible PFL and Bellator cross-promotional fight between Kayla Harrison and Chris Cyborg if they can come to terms on it.
Oh, I saw something about that, yeah.
Yeah, I've been seeing that going through Instagram, man. I'm here for that. I think that would be good for both of the promotions. It would grow their names, and I think because Cyborg has a big enough name, and Kayla Harrison's obviously getting a lot of steam at this point for what she's doing. I think if they could have some sort of cross-promotional thing, or if Chris Cyborg ends up leaving Bellator and going to the PFL or something like that, just, oh my God. I think that'd be a huge fight for women's MMA, and it's outside of the UFC, so builds the sport around it. Like, I think that would be a great fight. What do you think about that one?
I'm with you 100%. I'm all for the the growth of the sport and whatever it can do to broaden the popularity and get more eyes on it. So, has there? I don't believe has there ever been something like this before?
There probably has been in like the older days, but I'm trying to think. I don't think I've really seen anything like that. Oh, actually, Bellator and Ryzen, they had one fairly recently. But besides that, I don't think that there's really been any other ones. But that just shows you that Bellator is capable of doing it, which is cool. But my next question off that would be, do you think that Kayla Harrison is as legitimate as they say she is? And do you think that she'd do good against Chris Cyborg, or do you think that this is one of those types of deals where she's fighting not so tough competition in the PFL and she fought Cyborg, might get exposed?
I could very well see the latter. It was probably because I'm just more accustomed with Chris Cyborg, Kayla Harrison. And obviously, in that sense, like Chris Cyborg is an absolute machine, and
the UFC doesn't do her any favors with the way that they do her promotion, because now that she's gone, the only highlight that you ever see of her is getting knocked out by Amanda Nunes. So if you're only a UFC fan...
Which is very unfair.
Yeah, well, because, they've always had their problems with Chris Cyborg. With all the stuff that Dana said about her and Joe Rogan said about her. It's just like, yeah. That was just a bad matchup, obviously. I think they were probably pretty happy when Amanda Nunes won, and then they obviously ended up parting ways with her pretty soon after that when she beat Felicia Spencer. And then after that, she's been doing good in Bellator. I think that was a good fit for her. I think Bellator is good in that sense because they're very respectful of the fighters, and Scott Coker said that he runs it like that because they're the warriors that go in there for our entertainment. So who am I to disrespect these people? And I think that's a really cool way to run your promotion, and I think that's why you see a lot of guys go there. But yeah, I think that I don't know, because Kayla Harrison, I think that her grappling is actually elite because of just the level of judo that she has. Do you remember when she was on Impractical Jokers, by the way?
No.
No way.
No, I did not know.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious.
You don't remember that?
No.
Oh my God. You don't remember? I knew her from college. You not remember? Oh my God, are you kidding me?
If you said something like that,
so,
then
all right,
it's going to jog my memory a little
here.
bit.
So pretty much, I think it was I'm 99% sure it was a punishment. And it was the season when Murr had the wig on, and actually was it? I don't even know. But he was at a type of I think it was a party or something for a wedding, and Kayla Harrison was there. And this is way before the PFL stuff. She was still competing in judo, I think, at this point. And all Murr had to do for the challenge was go up to her and just try and grapple her, take her down. And obviously Kayla Harrison is not easy to take down. Especially when you're Murr. And Kayla Harrison was just throwing Murr into tables, throwing him to the ground. He threw him in the pool at the end. Oh my God. But man, yeah, you should look that up on YouTube. Honestly, I might, if I could find it, I'll probably put it in the description. But yeah, that was a great performance. And that's where that line comes from. Every single time that people would be to Murr, what is wrong with you? She clearly does not want to play this game with you. He would just be oh no, it's fine. I know her from college. Oh man, that's a really forgotten gem in Kayla Harrison's career. I'm glad that we had a chance to bring that back. But yeah, you definitely got to check that out when you have a chance. But I think, as going back to her actual fighting, I think that her grappling is definitely enough to go with Chris Cyborg. But Chris Cyborg, as you said, is like a machine on the feet. The way she just comes forward, and her power is honestly, her and Amanda Nunes are those top two when it comes to power with the women's fighters. You fought says when you take that UFC experience and you fight the people that you do, I think it's such a big step up in competition, and like you said, the unknown factor of it is what makes me side with Chris Cyborg currently. But that's the reason why I want to see it. It's almost like Hamzat. I just want to see Kayla fight someone who's that good, and I know who's that good, so I can accurately have a judge of what her skills are. But we'll see if that actually happens. I mean, I hope it does. I guess we can honestly stick with Bellator at this point. Never mind. Actually, but we'll stick with we'll start with Bellator. I feel like this only happens to Bellator. Like in the UFC, I see like random stupid things happen with fights, but it'll always be like a prelim fight or like first fight on the main card. I swear Bellator always just has some controversy in its like biggest fights.
Yeah, that sucked for Corey Anderson, man.
He was winning the fight dominantly. Like I even said it. I said I didn't think that Nemkov was going to be able to keep up with the pace that Corey Anderson was going to have with his wrestling, and I mean he was doing really well. And then obviously
you just clearly saw it. That elbow was as clean as a whistle, and it destroyed. Or more was it the headbutt that did? Busted up the eye. It had to have been the elbow.
I don't know.
That elbow was stiff.
I know that Corey Anderson said that he just admitted that he hit him with the headbutt.
Yeah,
and that's what happened. Which, by the way,
what a freaking stand-up,
like
dude,
that is true like championship material right there. Like just like because that just shows like actual sportsmanship. You know what I mean? Like I think that he could because think about all that was on the line. You had the title, the Grand Prix final, so that's $1 million that he just gave up right there. Man,
that's so unbelievable.
And obviously I said it on the Instagram story that he reposted. That was kind of cool. But I did say that he is awesome for that. And I thought that was really just worth noting. And I think that because he's in Bellator, not enough people are going to hear about that. I mean, obviously hardcore fans like us know about this type of stuff, but the more casual fans, they just see the outcome and not the things like this. Just shows you why he's one of like the best dudes like in the game. Honestly, he's a cool man. He's a cool dude, man. But it's unfortunate. I mean, he pretty much deserved to be the champ, and just unfortunate that headbutt robbed him of that. But I'm sure they're gonna have a rematch, and I hope for his sake that it goes smoothly for him.
I mean, because now there's no champion for the whole Grand Prix tournament either. So that can't move forward until like Corey Anderson gets this rematch.
Yeah, true. That's true. The Grand Prix aspect of it.
Yeah, in which case I really hope we're a non-biased show here, but us at the Hurt Handbook advocating for Corey Anderson.
Well, it's just because you feel bad, like the guy is dominating, and then he gets ripped out of his hands, God, man.
And then for him to just be as much of a stand-up guy as he is, to that's $1 million. There's
a lot of people who wouldn't do what he did, and yeah, man, that's great sportsmanship.
But I think that's just a testament of how just his confidence, and I think he just knows he's gonna get back, and so I hope so.
And I want to say this, and I really want to make a point of this because this is one of the reasons why I didn't enjoy the UFC card as much. But I think that the way that this fight turned out, albeit leaving a lot of questions still in that division, I think that's the way that a fight should end if it's a illegal strike. It should be a no contest. I don't understand how in the UFC Chris Barnett can get hit in the back of the head with an illegal strike and lose
the timing.
That's
these promotions really did us a favor with the timing here, because we can it's like a collateral movement,
it's
almost.
Tale of two outcomes here.
Which
and in the UFC,
we're gonna
best of both
exactly of them. We're gonna talk about how ridiculous that is with the UFC.
It's just kind of I'm thinking about it like this: the UFC has had it fail miserably in multiple ways. I think, just because in this sense, you got a guy in Chris Barnett got hit in the back of the head with an illegal strike. The doctor deemed him not able to continue, and he loses the fight because the doctor says he can't continue. How is that even possible? How do you get hit with an illegal strike and then you lose? That's just crazy. I get that Bidet was winning the fight, but I don't know. And especially when you look at that, they showed the replay of that. I had to look away. That was a rough shot right in the back of the head, and he had a broken rib too. He was already messed up. Just ugh.
It's probably just a product thing. Dana's probably just no, we can't.
I don't think it has anything to do with Dana though. I think it's the refs, and how they choose to deal with it. And then, like, because I'm pretty sure what they're supposed to do in the rule book is go to, like, if it's late enough in the fight, they go to a technical decision, which is why Chris Barnett lost, and which is why it was Baralho versus Godzi. I remember he had a point taken away, and he won after landing an illegal strike. And then, like, and then you even go back at the first Aljamain Sterling versus Petr Yan fight, even if you want to go the other way and give the win to the guy who got DQ'd, look where that left us in that division for so long. Like, you know what I'm saying? I just think that if you get hit with an illegal strike and you can't continue, it should just be a no contest. Like, if you... I don't know. Like, what do you think? Like, what would... If in your ideal world, like what would the rules be in that sense? If you get hit with an illegal strike and can't continue, what's your protocol as the ref if you were in that position with no rule book to consult? Like, it's your rules, 100%.
I mean, how do you look at it? If you're the ref and you know, like, you're a ref for a reason, like, you know, you're sanctioning this fight happening right now, like, and you see something illegal happen.
And you're like, okay, that guy loses. Like, well, it's not even.
It's kind of just that's why I had to, like, just say it out like that. It's kind of just like a common sense thing. It's just, that the UFC is not applying with this right now. It's kind of a problem.
I don't think it's the UFC though. I think it's the refs. I don't think the UFC has anything to do with it.
I don't know.
Because that fight, I think it was still in the title fight.
Well, then in that case, then the UFC should take it up with the refs, like, you know, association or what. I don't know what it's called.
It'd be like the commission.
Yeah, the commission. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Then that needs to be taken up with because. Yeah, that was a problem.
I just think it's unfair for both sides because, like I said, like with Aljamain Sterling, you have the guy who was, like, you know, in that first fight who was losing, and then the DQ gives him a win in that fight where it looked like he was going to get possibly finished in the next couple rounds. And then on the flip side, you got Chris Barnett, who didn't even say he couldn't continue, and then he gets a loss, which is, by the way, as we always say, that's half of his purse taken away by another person right there. Like, I don't know. I don't like that. It rubs me the wrong way. And, you know,
seriously, imagine if that's what happened with Nemkov and Corey Anderson for $1 million in a championship.
Yeah, like for a headbutt that opened that cut. Well, possibly. I don't know. I gotta rewatch it maybe, but I think that if the headbutt opened that cut, and that's why Nemkov couldn't continue. If you think about it, if he would have lost the title because of that, that's messed up. Because it's a cut. It's not like he was majorly like damaged and, like, you know. Well, yeah. Then again, he was getting battered, so who knows? But I don't know. I think that Bellator, the way that it happened with them, albeit not giving us much closure, I think that's the fairest way to do it, just for both fighters. It's a no contest. You know, nobody loses anything. Nobody gains anything. You have your rematch if you want it. Boom. End of story. Like, I don't know. Hopefully that's something that they take up. But I guess we can move up to the main event for Bellator. And like I said, Bellator going to Bellator with things like this. You had AJ Mckee versus Patricio Pitbull. And, Pitbull won by, I think it was split decision. No, it was unanimous.
It was unanimous, yeah.
That was me wanting it to be split decision. I watched that fight live as it was going on. I got home that night right in time for those last two fights, which was kind of cool. But I watched that fight. I personally had it 48-47 Mckee. I don't know how the hell a judge could give Pitbull 4 rounds in that fight. One judge was 49-46 Pitbull. That was mind-boggling.
That was pretty egregious.
AJ Mckee.
I think that round 3 is what, like, really turned the tide. When Patricio, like, he got, like, I personally thought he had I thought he had a good enough grip on the guillotine to get this in. Not that I, like...
No, it was close. It looked close.
I thought it was very close. Not that I thought, like, oh my god, like, it's over, like, right here. Because I know, like, you know... I know who AJ
Mckee was like one mistake away from it being that close. Like, that's what it really was.
Pretty much, yeah. And I think that's the way pretty much like the round 3, I think, is what really swayed like the judges towards Pitbull, just for Pitbull to like not really just take a lot of damage either. Really, like Mckee. I don't know. That's probably what it was. Just not enough damage being inflicted onto Pitbull. And obviously, with judges, that's what they.
That was just ridiculous. That was one of the bad ones that I hadn't seen in a while. That was a pretty bad one.
It does.
The 4 rounds.
It doesn't. Yeah, it don't.
What for? Let's see if
sometimes you really do wonder what the judges are watching.
Let's see if I could find the scorecards because I know they released them at some point, but I don't know.
Because I don't know how you can get hired to do this and.
There's gotta be. I want to
see things so differently.
Yeah, I just don't see how that's the 48-47s. Even that I don't agree with, but I could see it, but I don't know. I don't want to waste too much time trying to. Find
I agree with you with the 4. No, I personally thought a Pitbull won, but I agree with you because sometimes.
Well, this is how I watched it. When they were reading the scores and they said 48-47, 48-47, and 49-46, I was like, okay, AJ got it. He if there's someone who won 4 rounds in that fight, it was not Pitbull.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, AJ got it. And then obviously, I don't know if you saw that picture of AJ McKee's face when they read that decision, dude. He was just as shocked as the rest of it. Well. Maybe not you as much, but I don't know. That was my look. That was my look.
When I heard the 4-round unanimous decision, I was like, well, okay. I mean, that
you didn't think Pitbull was the one who got the decision once they said that. I would think.
Yep, that's a good. Yep, exactly. That's a fair way of looking at it.
I didn't like that, man. I don't know if they'll ever have a rematch because Mckee says he wants to go up to 55 and Pitbull says he's going to stay at 45. So, I mean, hey, man, maybe AJ McKee will fight his brother. Wouldn't that be something? Oh my god. He was talking a lot about the UFC, which obviously now is not going to help him because he just is coming off a loss now. I think that's tough because, he kind of screwed himself in that sense because he was talking about AJ McKee, I'm saying. He was talking about the UFC a lot in the lead up and, when you're doing that, you're disrespecting your promoter who's, currently promoting you. So now, That looks bad. I feel because he lost. He was saying that he would run through Volkan. He said I was not impressed by Volkanovski's performance against the Korean Zombie. I was like, I wonder what Volkanovski has to say about his performance in this fight. He's promoting. You got to understand. If he's trying to get in the UFC, he's trying to do storylines before he even gets there, which is smart. He's pretty open about it. He wants to go there. So I think that him to the UFC is inevitable, but maybe it'll be at 55, not 45. He's a big dude. We were saying that coming in, that was part of my reason why I picked him. And even in the fight, he was using his reach really well at a lot of points. He's a big dude for 45, so I could see him fighting at lightweight, but I don't know.
I just don't think Pitbull was giving him really many openings.
It was a tougher fight, that's for sure. Pitbull. You could tell he didn't make the same mistakes as last time.
I hardly saw any combos or really much of
It was a lot. I thought it was very from the outside.
Yeah, it was pretty grappling oriented, but
it was I don't know. It was a tough fight. It was a good fight too. In terms of how close it was. It wasn't the worst egregious robbery I've ever seen. I said, I could see.
I think it's watchable.
Pitbull,
if you're.
49-46 is mind-boggling. I'm sorry.
I think it's definitely worth your time. If you're you're generally interested in Bellator and
those two guys.
If you want to score this fight for yourself and get a sense of what we're talking about here and how what the judges are watching, definitely something worth checking out.
Like I said, maybe I could see what the 48-47 guys were watching, but I don't know what fight the 49. Maybe they were watching the preview of the.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's just fight. Maybe they were watching a different fight on their phones, and they thought that was the Bellator fight.
That's what I mean. But, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know how you can get four rounds. That's mind-boggling, but like I said, it's tough for Bellator because you got a no contest and then you have a fight where most of the MMA world thinks it was a robbery. So and this was as they were dubbing it the biggest night in Bellator history. So ended up it was all right, but wasn't too special. I mean, yeah, but I'll tell you what. I think that those two guys obviously are still like great fighters in their own right, and same thing with Nemkov and Anderson.
I think Pitbull is like unbelievable, like seriously like, unbelievable. If he were to come to UFC today, I think he could be champ. Like, obviously, like not. But if we're gonna like imagine Pitbull and Michael Chandler in the UFC, I think Pitbull would run through.
You think he would go to 55? He's in the UFC, not 45.
I think
because he's been talking about 45. I think he called out Volkanovski.
I
hate when he says. I hate when like he's like Volkanovski like doesn't have the balls. Like, bro, Volkanovski's fought dudes. Like he's fought all dudes. Holloway twice. Like, you think he's scared of some like a guy from Bellator? Like I'm not trying to disrespect Bellator, but like Alexander Volkanovski's seen it all. Like if Patricio Pitbull were to come into the UFC at some point,
like seriously, with all due respect to Bellator, like people from UFC tend to usually come to Bellator after their UFC career.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, when you're barely like getting by guys like AJ Mckee, in my opinion, like I said, lost this fight too, and you're calling out Alex Volkanovski, who has looked inhumanly good for his past like 4 fights. Pretty much. Honestly, even the Holloway fights, like even though they're close, like just the fact that someone is doing that someone as good as Mac.
I think what's just funnier to me about him saying that is like, I think it would actually be like funny if Volk like it actually did put on like, you know, like a bit of like a suspect showing. The funny thing is like he pretty much like dominated Degree and Zombie.
Yeah, that was
looked even better than the yeah. He looked even better than the Ortega fight, and just continues to just progressively get better with each fight. And
like I said, he is currently my number 1 pound for pound fighter. Like that, this guy is no weaknesses there. Like he's just good everywhere. And like, you know, people say like he's not submitting people maybe on the ground, but like if that's what you have to say, that's it. And like even that, when I look at that Brian Ortega fight, and like we go back to it sometimes when we talk about Volk, but it's just so worth it. He got out of a fully mounted guillotine from one of the best jiu-jitsu guys in the UFC, probably the best jiu-jitsu guy in that division. And then he got out of the triangle, which is literally his like signature submission. His nickname is T-City, Triangle City. Like, and Alex Volkanovski got out of that. So you're telling me that like this guy's gonna like get submitted by somebody else?
That's just like that championship drive to just tap into a whole nother gear. That was his championship people just
moment.
Don't have
to get through that, like, and
because like
then
you just
win
said,
the round
like,
after it. Like he got almost submitted twice and then almost finished the fight within that round with ground and pound. Like, I don't know. I can't. I'm not picking against Volkanovski until I have a valid reason to do so. And until someone beats him, I don't think I will. So, I just think
sounds like a pretty wise decision to me.
But Pitbull, not to devalue him, he's great in his own right. I mean, he's fought killers in Bellator himself. Especially, like I said, I think Mckee is a great fighter too. So, you know, we'll see where they go from here. But I guess to wrap this one up, we'll go to the boxing realm, which honestly, in my opinion, ended up being the best part of the weekend. But Errol Spence beat Yordenis by TKO in round 10. Just a dominant performance overall, pretty much. I mean, he had a couple moments where Ugas was connecting, but overall, Spence was just doing a good job at working the body, landing a lot of uppercuts. It's just to show you, like, he's just one of the best boxers on this planet. Like, and now finally he called out Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford's like, let's do this, let's get it done. Please, promoters, get this one done. Like, what are we doing? Like, do we really need to see any more fights for either of these guys in between this? Like, Spence has pretty much, I think, almost all of the titles at this point. And I think Crawford probably has, let's see, I think, what did he just win? This is why boxing is like, goes right over my head sometimes. There's so many. Like, why do we have, because the UFC, there's the UFC welterweight champion, maybe an interim champion. Boxing, you can have like 5 champions in one weight class. Like that's what are we doing? But it's just the way it works. So then they could say the undisputed. Let's see. All right, so Errol Spence, he's got the IBF title, the WBC title, and a WBA title. And then Terence Crawford, Jesus Christ.
This is like 6 titles in this one fight.
What are we doing, boxing? Okay, and I think, Terence Crawford I think he just has the WBO one.
Oh,
Wonder
okay.
who's the Ring Magazine welterweight champion then? Now I want to know. Yeah, if we're gonna have 6 belts, who's the Ring Magazine welterweight champ right now?
Ring Magazine welterweight champion of the world.
Let's see.
Drum roll.
Get vacant. Vacant? Are you kidding me? How's that even possible? What?
Dang.
All right, whatever. It's vacant. So junior welterweight has Josh Taylor. God, if you went up to welterweight, that'd be interesting. But anyway.
Damn, they don't got a fight set up for that belt.
I guess not. But it's all right. We still got like 5 other titles to fight for. So anyway.
No shortage of titles.
Yeah, I just think Errol Spence just really proved himself in this fight. He came back after all this adversity with torn retina. His, obviously like before that, like we were talking about, he had the accident too, and he just really put it on Yordenis. He broke his orbital. I saw that now on ESPN. So he just really just put a beating on him, and I think we're finally gonna get him versus Terence Crawford to unify all these titles, and I think this will be the true testament, like who is the best welterweight in boxing, and hopefully we get that answer within the next year, and not within 3 years, because boxing likes to delay things too much, especially Top Rank. I mean, you're gonna talk about Bob Arum, dude. I remember Dana was criticizing him one time, so like rightfully so. I think he said that Bob Arum said I could build a house with all the money like I've like either wasted or something like that. With all the money I've like wasted promoting Terence Crawford. I'm like, this is the guy that you're promoting and you're just trashing him. Like, what are you doing? Like, how do you and you want him to promote for you after saying something like that? Get out of here. And I think he actually, I don't know if did he leave Top Rank? Because I know he said he was gonna. I don't know if that was the last fight of his contract, his last fight against Sean Porter. Let's see. I kind of want to know this. Yeah, no, it's over. So yeah, I think he might be able to fight with any promotion. Am I right about this? I want to why can't Jesus. Oh yeah, no, I think he literally filed a lawsuit against them too. So no, he ain't fighting for Top Rank, not anymore. So good for him though, getting out of there. They were doing a lousy job of promoting him because, I was obviously just talking up Errol Spence, but I think Terence Crawford is the best welterweight in the world, and I think he'll prove that if he fights Errol Spence. But Bob Arum's just done the worst job of promoting the guy. He's literally undefeated. He's one of the best fighters of our generation, and he's an American too. And you can't name maybe 20 people who know who he is, in an average friend group. You know what I'm saying? Let's see what his actual record is, because I'm pretty sure it's legit 30 something at this point.
You would think it would be a lot easier.
38-0. And did you know he was 38-0?
You'd think
that's a pretty impressive record. I know boxing they pad it, but he's fought guys at this point.
You'd think it'd be a lot easier to promote someone like this too.
He's fought Jose Benavidez. He beat Jeff Horn, who beat Manny Pacquiao. He beat Amir Khan, who's a really good fighter, but obviously has had a couple rough knockouts, including that fight, honestly. Fought Kell Brook, who was a good fighter in his day. Beat Sean Porter, I think, is his best win, and he TKO'd Sean Porter in that fight. I remember that one. So now he's 38-0. What are we doing, man? Let's make the fight. And I think now that he's a free agent and Bob Arum and Top Rank aren't going to just completely tear the guy to shreds, I think that this is finally the fight that's got to get booked. But boxing, man, sometimes it's just so confusing. I mean, How about we get the Ring Magazine welterweight champion? All right, like let's not have that title be vacant. If we're gonna have like 900 titles, let's have them all.
Maybe they're thinking of retiring it.
You think? I don't think so. I mean, they still have it for all their 90 weight classes in boxing.
That would suck, man.
Maybe they'll put it up in that fight if those two fight. I mean, I guess it's up to them, right? At the Ring Magazine, I have no idea.
Well, whenever that fight gets booked, I'm on it. I'm definitely on it. I'm here for it.
That's usually I'm the type who likes to stream some boxing pay-per-views just because like the pricing is crazy. But I might have to buy that one. Like that might be the one that actually gets me to buy it. I said it would never be a Jake Paul fight. And honestly, I always thought that it would be Tyson Fury who would always be like taking my money, but when that fight came with Deontay Wilder, the third one, didn't buy that one.
Yeah, dude, you gotta bide your time if you think this is the one.
Yeah, this might be it. I mean, it's been a bit. I can't name the last boxing pay-per-view I like actually.
When it finally happens in 2026.
God, bro, if that happens, Jesus. I mean,
that'll be the one.
The fact that that's even like actually a possibility is kind of scary. Hey, you never know. I don't
just to drag it out for as long as they can,
Let's build it a little bit more.
Exactly.
Let's have them fight a couple more cans.
Grab all the promotional revenue that you can.
I think this is it. They've both beaten like incredible competition at this point. We are clearly both for real. Like they got to fight each other. Like it's end of story. Like there's no other fight that anyone wants to see. So, Spence versus Crawford, book it. Great performance by Errol Spence versus Yordenis. Like I said, fractured his orbital, but that was the best part of the weekend. Obviously, yeah. The rest of it, I'm trying to see here. I guess maybe one last thing we could talk about that I thought was pretty interesting. This is kind of cycling back to the UFC, but I didn't know this coming in. Jakar Close, he, for one, battered his opponent, which is incredible. Like, good for him. I told you, he was an insane fighter. And he called out Marco Madsen, which was a great call out. But, I mean, he might get that fight. Who knows? But the one thing, though, I did want to talk about was he was talking about the Jeremy Stevens push after the fight. And, like, he's had, like, legit lingering injuries, like, because of that, like, in his neck. Apparently, like, he messed up, like, something in, like, his spinal cord, like, in his vertebrae or whatever. And, like, he's been having, like, lingering, like, issues because of it. And he's, like, very mad about it. Obviously, rightfully so. And
sheesh.
That's just tough. Like, he said, like, he was literally, like, I think it was on, like, oh, God. It was not it wasn't, like, MMA Junkie or something. It was, like, BJPenn.com. But that's honestly not too unreliable of a site. But I think he said something like, I don't want to butcher his quote. Let me see if I could find this. I'm pretty sure he said he contemplated retirement.
Wait.
Because of the injury. Like, they said that, like, the surgery would, like, mess him up. Yeah, here it is, MMA fighting. Okay. I'm still not 100%, is what he said. The damage was... I told myself if I have to get surgery, I'm just going to call it quits. Just trying to manage it and do the therapy and all that. I did think that was going to be the end of me. I was having really bad headaches, dealing with my neck issue. It was something serious. When I saw my doctor, he talked about fusing my neck, and I didn't want to hear that. I want to go out on my own terms. I don't want to go out with the doctor telling me I can't do that. I can't do this. It was a herniated disc, C6, C7. As soon as it happened, my whole arm went numb, and later that night, things weren't right. I woke up and I couldn't open my eyes. It was a real bad headache. Whew. And that's like from the push. Like that's insane. That sucks for him, man. Cervical sprain of the neck and a concussion. And he came back and won this fight after all that.
Wow.
Like that I didn't know all that coming in. Like I knew obviously it was bad enough for him to like get withdrawn from that fight, but man, dude, like I don't even know like what the UFC could do about that. Like, I feel like they should. Like, I don't know if they compensated. Say if they compensated him for that. I don't like this. When it comes to the sympathy received from the promotion, Close didn't feel like much was received. Instead, it was more of the opposite. There is a lot of other stuff I will probably say when I'm done fighting, but oh man, that means they did him dirty here. There's a lot of stuff that I will probably say when I'm done fighting, but they pay me, so I will keep my mouth shut. They ended up giving me my show money, but they never said anything to me. To me, it's kind of ridiculous. He really fucked me up. I remember driving home from that fight, and I was crying. I don't know why I was crying, but my head was so messed up. It's a business for them. They don't care. It's all numbers for them. When I'm gone, someone else will be in my spot. Eesh. That is like the fact that happened and that's what he has to say. That's unbelievable. Like the fact that they didn't in any way compensate him for that, like besides giving him his show money after he literally did nothing wrong. That's messed up, man. And he's so right too with how the industry works. Like he's a smart veteran. He's been around for a while. It even says he has wins over. He has a win over Bobby Green, Lando Venata, Mark Giacchese. Like he's and like I said, he almost knocked out Beneil Dariush too. And like this is what the UFC like does to like a guy like that. It just I don't know, man. I don't like that. That rubs me the wrong way, especially when it's like not your own fault.
Because he literally just said like he's biting his tongue right now.
Yeah, and he already said enough while biting his tongue, like saying that it's all like because that is so true. That final sentence, it's a business for them. They don't care. It's all numbers for them. When I'm gone, someone else will be in my spot. And especially with the ESPN deal now, that's really how it is. And like we've talked about this, like just watching fights and stuff, but honestly, like those pay-per-view stars with the UFC, like I think they're almost like extinct. Like those guys like Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, Brock Lesnar back then, because like they don't need to rely on that anymore. Like they're not as name driven. Like now that they have ESPN, ESPN is so great at just telling stories about different athletes that they can make anybody into a star nowadays. Which is why all these guys who are like these upper echelon fighters don't have as much like leverage as they used to, because the pay-per-view isn't all that makes the money anymore. So yeah, he's definitely, you could tell that he's mature and he's been around the game because he knows that that's how it is. And yeah, I don't like seeing that, man. But I mean, I guess we'll end it though on a positive note for him. That was a great fight, great performance. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it.
I did.
Yeah, Dude, he had to hit him in the head like 75 times before Jenkins actually like went down, like, and Herb ended up stopping it.
After it
did,
even after, you could say like exactly when it got stopped or after it got stopped, he landed another like.
Even though it was like right when it got stopped, I'm glad you noticed that. Too.
That's like, oh my.
Yeah, that was so brutal. Like he was beating him like. When I was watching that, I was like, this is almost like they have beef. Like, that's how bad he's beating this dude up right now. And
yeah.
Like, it's not even like Jakar's like a bad guy or nothing. Like, he's just doing his job.
I liked that,
not folding.
I liked that, I believe it was Dominic Cruz who was on commentary this week, right? With,
yeah.
Yeah.
Both DCs and Dan Cormier.
I liked that he said when, Jakar Close had him in the clinch up against the cage, and he just landed a lot of really body shots and all that. And then Dominic Cruz is like, he's smiling and whatnot at Herb and all that. It was like, you know, nothing's happening. Like you gotta get to fighting. Like,
yeah, he's just happy.
He's like, yeah, like good for you, man. You're taking the shots, like hanging in there, but. What's it matter
Jakar
for
Close
what?
did look better too, like in terms of finishing the fight. Like he was going like a little crazy in round one, and he says that he's just going for the finish. Like he doesn't.
I think he was very. I don't think he was like. Yeah, I don't think he was ever like overexerting like any like energy or anything. I think he was just like.
I mean,
obviously you have to keep the pressure on, but you don't want to get like too out of him.
Well, because he says he doesn't think of his gas tank when he's fighting, but then he said obviously, and I think they mentioned it in the broadcast too, that his corner had said, in this, just let's be more composed in this round. And I think when he did that, that's when that finish really came to him. And man, yeah, that's so true. He dropped him, like he hurt him with the uppercut, and then he dropped him with the hook. And then Herb, like, as he was pulling him away, and, like, Jenkins was, like, he was about to get up, he hit him with that other one, like you said, and, bro, he literally just, like, put him on his face. Like, that was such a brutal finish. That literally looked like a street fight at the end there. That was incredible, man. Like I said, Jakar Close, he's got mad power in his hands. We've seen this. time and time again. He's got good wrestling. I'm telling you, man, he is a really good fighter, and I hope that he gets like thrusted up the division. I mean, who knows now, especially after kind of like what he said about the promotion, what they're gonna think about that, or if they're even gonna think about that, because sometimes, you know, that stuff doesn't get to Dana's ears. So hopefully for his sake it doesn't, because I like Jakar Close a lot, and I want them to keep pushing him up the ranks, because I think he is capable of being like a top 10 fighter, if not more than that. So I'm just glad to see that didn't end his career, that push. So he had a great win in this one. We'll see what happens with him next. And I guess in terms of next week, I think it's another like pretty stacked weekend actually, like this one. We got the UFC, I know for a fact, is Amanda Lemos versus Jessica Andraj. Bellator, I know, has a card. Let's see. Where is it? Oh, wow, 2 in a row, actually. So Friday is Velasquez versus Carmouf. I think that's the flyweight title, if I'm not mistaken. And then and then the 23rd, which is the next day, obviously, on Saturday, is Cyborg versus... Who we got? I don't know who that is, but I don't want to butcher the girl's name either, but it's a rematch apparently. I'd imagine that Chris Cyborg is probably going to win, just because she's like Amanda Nunes was for a long time. She just kind of is that girl. So yeah, let's see. Are there any other good fights on these cards? On the Cyborg one, there's actually a few good ones. Juan Archuleta versus, oh god, how do you say his name? It's like Rafael, stop. How do you say this name, bro? How would you say this? I've always seen his name. It's like...
Rafael Stotts.
Yeah, that's how it's said? Okay. I never actually, like, noticed it. But he's a good fighter, too. I think him versus Juan Archuleta will be a fun one. I think he's let's see, what does it say here? As a wrestler, he's a 2-time NCAA Division II champion, which is still impressive. I mean, hey, Kamaru Usman, D2 wrestler, so... And then Patchy Mix versus Horiguchi. That's another good fight, actually, damn. Okay. Is that a Grand Prix? There's a there's a Bantamweight Grand Prix going on right now? This is what I'm talking about, man. Like, the UFC, like, they do a great job at promoting. Like, it's things like Bellator sometimes and one championship. Like, it'll be like the week of a fight. Like, take the last card, for example. Like, we didn't even talk about that on the last Hurt Handbook, because I don't even think we realized at that point that it was actually happening that weekend, because they don't do like a good job at like promoting it before that. Like, I don't know, man. I just wish that they would do a better job, because I think that it would build the sport and build their brands. I mean, hey, I don't know if I could do any better, but we'll see. I think that there's definitely... Ooh, what's this? 25 days until... Man, there's some good Bellator fights coming up, actually. We'll definitely talk about those more, though, as we go on. And then boxing, Tyson Fury is fighting Dillian White. I'm looking forward to that. I always love Tyson Fury fights, man. And I think this is a good fight, him versus Dillian White, because it's just like, he is the number one contender. Like, he's been calling for a Tyson Fury fight for a long time, and he's finally getting it. So I think that that'll be a fun one. Tyson Fury's always entertaining. We know this. I'm sure his walkout will be crazy. The fight will be crazy. And hopefully we'll have something else to talk about on the next Hurt Handbook, because this weekend it left us with some stuff, but not too much. I'd say for all the events that were happening, it definitely didn't live up to my hype, at least that I had it in my head. How about you? What did you think of how it all ended up?
I'm with you, man. I mean,
you're never gonna always get bangers. That's for sure. We've grown to be very spoiled as fight fans. That's true. We have had like only good cards since we've started this. This is probably the first rough little weekend that we've had. It's just unfortunate that different things happen. Like I said, the UFC had all the things happen with the illegal strikes and like multiple fights, a lot of timeouts. And then Bellator, obviously we talked in nauseum about that. But Yeah, I mean, hopefully next weekend will be better. You know, they have their second chance. We got UFC, Bellator, and boxing again. We'll see what happens. I think
Nice.
that'll be better. You know, we'll be back on Thursday to break down, or Thursday. God, I'm tired. We'll be back Friday to break down the next UFC card. Like I said, Lemos versus Andraj. Sure, there'll be some hidden gems in that one. There always seem to be, honestly. That's how we felt with this card. And some of those fights lived up to the hype. Oh, actually, before we go, that Bueno Silva versus Wu Yanan fight actually did end up being pretty close. So I was right about that.
Ah.
Like, I saw it on Instagram, too, because I kind of missed some of it because I wasn't home for that part. But I did end up rewatching it. That was a good fight. So I'm happy that I was right about that one. So at least there's some positives. I did lose $1 playing fantasy. I only put in one lineup. I wasn't like...
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be able to get a good lineup this time. I really did. But I didn't really get like one that I was too confident in. So I only put like one lineup in. And it was like a cheap $1 game. And I didn't win. So I was like just outside of it. So I wouldn't have won much anyway. So yeah. Maybe that was why I had a rougher weekend. Not pulling in the bread this time. But hey, next weekend we'll rebound.
Next week, exactly.
So we'll be back with the Hurt Sportsbook on Friday, and then obviously we will break down all the action as usual for the Hurt Handbook next Monday. So yeah, I think that'll be it for this one, and let's hope that next weekend is a little bit more exciting than this weekend, right?
It will be. It will be. I feel it in my soul that it will be.
The MMA gods, they can't screw us 2 weeks in a row like that. And honestly, the combat sports gods, too, because boxing. Can't forget about the boxing
It's
matches.
the boxing main event? I mean, not boxing. Bellator main event.
It is... Alright, so the Friday one is Velasquez versus Carmouf. It's a pretty good fight. And
Hey, Los Carmouf.
yeah, honestly, that's kind of cool.
OG.
I'm looking forward to that Cyborg fight. I like watching her fight because she's just all-time great.
Love Sarah Cyborg, man.
Those should be fun, though. We'll have more Bellator to talk about. They have 2 events to do something awesome.
All right, Bellator. You're up.
It's up to them. It's up to them.
Let's do it.
But we'll see how it goes, and we'll be talking about it on the next Hurt Handbook. So tune in for that, and peace.